very good afternoon to you all. I'm Dr. Shauli Basu. I'm a microbiologist at Hinduja Hospital and also the infection control officer. Today I'll be talking about infection prevention and control. Now, this infection prevention and control is one of the very key elements for any healthcare setting. 7 out of 100 patients in high-income countries and 15 out of 100 in low and middle-income countries, they have one or the other healthcare-associated infection during their hospital stay. However, and with good infection control practices, we can reduce this significantly, especially the mortality, by 70%. Hence, IPC practices, that is infection prevention and control practices, are very crucial in any healthcare setting. So, what are we doing at our center with regards to IPC? Now, what we have to understand that all these practices, it cannot be done by one person. So if I say I'm the infection control officer, of course, I'm not the sole person doing it. It's an entire teamwork. So we have an infection control team, we have an infection control committee, and each and every member from this hospital, they take extra initiatives so that we put our patients first and we see to it that if they are coming with some problem, that problem gets resolved and they don't end up with some newer other infections. To get that, what is needed is, if you see the Swiss cheese model. So in a Swiss cheese model, what happens is if you have multiple levels you can take care, in that case, even if you miss out on one, it will be taken care by some other method to prevent the infection. So there are different barriers that are taken care of. Now let's start with the most important practice. Now, thanks to COVID, all of you all are very much aware of hand hygiene. No, but this hand hygiene, is this concept very new just with COVID? No, it traces way back to 1800s when Dr. Ignaz Semmelweis, he's proved that just with basic hand hygiene, they could reduce the mortality in postpartum patients. So if that was the time, and now in here what we do at our hospital is, you will see that at the end, a foot end of each bed, there are hand rubs available. There are different wash basins, and all the wash basins in the nursing station, they will have the hand washes, and plus there are posters and signages to tell about what are the 5 moments of hand hygiene, what are the 7 steps of hand hygiene. All of that have been emphasized. But are we doing it just recently? No. So thanks to Dr. Ajita Mehta, we have been practicing this hand hygiene thing since 1989. So at that time, there was not commercially available hand rubs, but still we used to make it in-house, and that would be available at foot end of each patient bed. Now, and the importance of hand hygiene was understood way back. Of course, we focus even on cough etiquettes, which now all of y'all are aware thanks to COVID. But if there is a coughing patient, that patient needs to be given a mask so that the patient doesn't transmit the infection to others. Apart from all of these, there are basic standard precautions which need to be followed. There are certain personal protective equipments like the gown, the cap, the mask, goggles, boots at times, which are needed for us to prevent the healthcare workers from catching any kind of infection from the patients while doing any procedures. There also we follow transmission-based precautions. Now, what do I mean by transmission-based precautions? So now we receive various kinds of patients. Now, some patients may be infected with a particular bug. We do not want this infection to be transmitted from one patient to the other. Hence, we follow usually contact isolation precautions, droplet isolation precautions, airborne isolation precautions, and bloodborne isolation precautions. For that, we usually tag the patient's file with the respective card, which suggests that this is the isolation precautions to be followed. Apart from that, whenever there is a multi-drug resistant bug, that is the ones which are very difficult to be treated, they are the ones which we need to tackle more frequently. So for them, now if a doctor comes or somebody or a nurse comes, they will be able to read what is written on the patient's file. But suppose somebody from the housekeeping who is not well versed with English, how do they know that they have to follow extra precautions when they are coming to such a patient? For that, we changed the curtain color from the regular curtain to a wine color curtain. Plus, there are certain extra precautionary measures like gowns and gloves which are kept at the patient bedside, which anybody who enters the room and is touching the patient will have to wear those, talk to the patient in that way, then touch the patient, and before leaving the room, they are supposed to dispose of all that and also properly follow hand hygiene. We also have different isolation barrier rooms. Now, sometimes a patient is very immunocompromised, like a patient who has undergone a bone marrow transplant or a patient who has undergone chemotherapy. Their immunity has gone really down. So we need to protect that patient. So for those kind of patients, we have separate isolation rooms and where we follow strict isolation practices so that the germs which other people are carrying do not end up going to the patient. On the contrary, there could be some patients, like a patient with tuberculosis who has been admitted. Now what do? Or a patient with chickenpox or measles. We don't want the transmission of such infections neither to our healthcare workers nor to any other patient. For them, there are separate isolation precautions. Okay, so for them, what we follow is negative isolation so that they do not transmit the infection to anyone else. Next, coming to safe injection practices. Now, our nurses have been trained meticulously to follow safe injection practices. We preferably use always single-dose devices only. In case if any time multi-dose vials are used, it's only for that particular patient. We never share multi-dose vials in between patients. And of course, with all proper precautions and as per the manufacturer instructions, those are used. But wherever feasible, it's only single-dose vials. Also, we want our healthcare workers also not to get any kind of needle stick injuries. So wherever feasible, we have added safety devices like safety cannula, or even if you see for glucose monitoring, what we use is the AccuSure. So which are all the safety scalp pads which are used if at all for blood collection. So these are very important because we need to protect not only the patients, the caregivers, but definitely even our healthcare workers. The supplies that come to the OT or for any other proper procedures that are used. So many times it's not possible. There are many metallic items and all. These can be washed and sterilized properly and then they can be reused. But that is not done at each individual bedside. So we have a proper central sterile supply department. So they are which is properly done with unidirectional flow where all the instruments go and then after proper sterility only they are got back into use. Now, Fuminga, I was talking about healthcare infections. Now, how do I know that there is any healthcare infection happening? For that, we, of course, to prevent those, we follow care bundles. What we understand. If you must have heard the story previously, when you're asked to give just one stick, it's easy to break. But if I give you a bundle together and ask you to break that, it is difficult. Okay, similarly, to prevent healthcare infections, what we follow is a bundle care approach. And that you will have different checklists and the daily rounds by our infection control team, which will take care that all the bundle care approaches are followed. With the help of these surveillance, then we monitor the trends. We have set a benchmark which is applicable to our setting. And if by any chance, any month, any of the parameters crosses the benchmark, then we do proper corrective and preventive action. So we follow the different quality measures like the FIDE-WISE, the fishbone analysis, the PDSA cycle. With the help of that, proper corrective and preventive actions are taken so that we can get back. If I say that our hospital will have zero HAIs, of course that's not feasible, but we have to keep it to minimum. So that's what is important. Now coming to antibiotics. We know that in India, unfortunately, it is very easy to get antibiotics over the counter. As a result of that, we are facing too much of antibiotic resistance. But what are we doing as the healthcare setting? We also definitely want to help the community to help preserve these antibiotics. To do that, we have another antimicrobial stewardship team. They work in very close collaboration with the microbiology departments. We make our own antibiogram, which will help decide the antibiotic policy. On the basis of the antibiotic policy, the appropriate empiric choice of antibiotic can be decided for any patients. We also see to it that if any clinician is giving any high-end antibiotics which we have as per the WHO rare classification, if they are giving that, they need to justify why they are giving these high-end antibiotics, and the AMSP team justifies that yes, this is good to go ahead with this high-end. If they feel that no, it is not, they have a dialogue with the clinician and we come to a common ground. Now coming to waste management. So it's in a hospital setting, we are not only dealing with the general waste that you are doing at your regular household. We have a lot of biomedical waste, and that cannot be discarded just routinely, right? In any black bag or green bag. For them, we have proper color coded as per the Maharashtra State Pollution Control Board. They have defined what all to be put in red bag, what is to be put in the yellow bag, what is to go in the shop's container, and all of that is followed meticulously. Now coming to our support services. So let's consider housekeeping. Okay, they see to it they do the proper surface cleaning, the floor cleaning, all of that as per the policies. Even terminal cleaning, when one patient goes, a new patient comes, there is a different policy for that. Coming to laundry, we see to it that you get fresh linen every day. Now, if any linen is soiled, they go into a different colored transparent bag, which is again having a biomedical waste label, and all of that is being washed separately. There are different cycles depending upon the type of linen. Now coming to our food service department. So our kitchen is ISO 22208 certified. We see to it that all the practices which are maximum needed in a healthcare setting are being followed. We see to it that our FSD staff, they are also vaccinated against typhoid, so that we don't end up in a condition where any staff is leading to as a typhoid carrier is giving out patients any kind of infection. Now coming to protection of our staff. So now with certain vaccines like hepatitis B vaccine or varicella zoster vaccine, we are seeing to it that our staff is protected against infections. Now when our staff is protected, they see to it that you are also protected. So if I become a carrier and I'm not infected, but I can still carry the infection from one patient to the other. But if I'm vaccinated, I'm immunized, I'll see to it that I don't even become a carrier for that infection and I don't transmit it. So they receive hepatitis B, VZB, they receive annual flu vaccines, all those who are in direct patient contact. This was about the hospital, but we do much more even for the community. So like in today's setting, I am talking to many of you all who are not working in the hospital setting, but who are maybe patient caregivers or patients themselves. Similarly, we have other good living drives where they talk to the patients, the common man, where we tell them what are the different cough etiquettes. During COVID, we had done multiple such videos where we were promoting what were the ideal ways so that you can prevent transmission. We have vaccination drives, all of that to help the patients. So I would like to end my talk today by a quote by Henry Ford. Coming together is a beginning. Staying together is progress, but working together is success. Thank you.